Right now, in a surprising turn of events, the country's GDP grew by nearly 2% in the first quarter of 2022. How exactly are these figures calculated, especially given the country's unemployment rate? Statistician General Risenga Maluleke joins me now to talk about these numbers and how they're calculated. Thank you very much, Prof. Maluleke, for your time here on All Angles. Now, firstly, there's been some people who've raised concern about how Stats SA actually came to the numbers that we were given for the first quarter of 2022, etc. And I know that COVID-19 and the lockdown made you change the way that you calculate. So how exactly did the changes affect your end results?
For starters, let me indicate that COVID-19 did not make us change the way we calculate the GDP. In that the whole process of taking out the annualization in terms of the GDP has been an ongoing project since 2017, consulting with our measure users. And we were one of the 3 countries that were still looking at our figures being annualized, the other 2 being the United States and Canada, and which are geographically located next to one another. Having said so, when we look at the growth numbers in terms of industries, we should not look only at the growth rates of each industry. So let us look at manufacturing, for example. We are saying it grew at 4.9%, which is the biggest growth we have seen. However, in the expansion of our economy by 1.9% in the first quarter of 2022, it contributed 0.6 of a percentage point. So we always make this information available. And when you look at it, is in terms of contribution, it is followed by 2 industries. One is trade, 2 is finance. Trade has grown by 3.1%, while finance has grown by 1.7%. And both of them have contributed 0.4 of a percentage point to the 1.9% that we see. So these 3 industries are the biggest contributors to the number that we return in the form of 1.9% in the first quarter. Having said so, we have also seen that construction and mining have gone in the negative. Construction has been depressed for quite some time, but in this quarter, particularly in residential and construction works, whereas in mining, it's the platinum metal groups, also iron ore and gold.
Prof, you know, a lot of economists who are saying that they don't trust Stats SA's, numbers, are making the reason behind the quarterly labor force survey, which showed a decline. So they're saying that response doesn't correlate to what you're saying about GDP. Your response to that?
Well, for starters, let us look at the GDP. The GDP is a compilation that we collect from administrative records as well as from industries, whereas the quarterly labor force survey is a household survey that we collect from households. Now, so these are 2 different sources. However, and I'm surprised that economists are saying they don't believe or trust these numbers, because we released the quarterly labor force survey and we were saying that manufacturing was the biggest contributor in employment. In the 370,000 jobs, manufacturing contributed 183,000 jobs quarter on quarter. Although the difference is that if you look at our GDP numbers, they are seasonally adjusted, whereas QLFS is not seasonally adjusted. But both of them are returning the same story about manufacturing.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Prof. Unfortunately, I have to leave it there for today. Thank you for speaking to us, Professor Risenga Maluleke. He is the Statistician General at Statistician.